I'ma take them to the faraway land. Don't ask where we going, we'll be back before you know it. I'ma take them to the faraway land. Don't ask where we going, we'll be back before you know it.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you my nightly stretch routine, and I do this right before I go to bed. In my last video, I did do a bun tutorial, and that video leads into this one. So if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and do that if you want. But let's get into it. I'm starting off with a simple warm-up. This warm-up is going to be stretching the sides of my back, my arms, and the back of my legs. This stretch that I do is very good for the back of my calves. A lot of the time, since I'm always and constantly on releve, my calves tend to get tight. So when I do this stretch, it helps loosen them up. This little stretch right here allows me to stretch my inner thighs and to make sure that my core is able to tighten up. Since I am stretching my inner thighs, I like to focus on getting prepared for when I need to do my splits. I like to make sure that I am properly stretched out and warmed up so I do not pull anything. This is another stretch that I like to do for my calves. Now, what this stretch does is that it really extends all the way up to the back of my thighs, and it doesn't just focus on my calf. So what I do is that I put one foot in front of the other and I flex it and make sure that my toes are pointing up to the ceiling. I like to do lunges because it helps me focus on my core, which is my abdominal muscles. It also helps me focus on my extended muscles on the front side of my thigh and also my hamstrings. I like to make sure that these things are flexible and warmed up before I get into the splits. As I am in my lunge, I like to go ahead and start stretching my back out slowly. I like to do this because it can help me with any back extension, which could be an arabesque or a scorpion or anything of that kind. I like to focus on both sides of my back since I am more flexible on one side than the other. Now, I do believe that this is another form of a lunge, but I'm not really sure, so don't take my word on it. But this does stretch my hamstring. I also like to flex my foot so I can get a better stretch. Now it's time to go ahead and get into my right split. When I get into my right split, I like to make sure that my hips are square and my shoulders are also squared. My bad, guys. I didn't think about wearing anything light colored besides my shirt. My uncle happened to have dark wood floors and I of course decided to wear black leggings, so I'm sorry if you can't see my legs, but hopefully you do get the idea of what I'm doing. Now, the reason why I keep flexing and pointing my foot is because you do get different stretches when your foot is pointed and when your foot is flexed. I am doing the same thing that I did in my lunges. I am slowly stretching my back out so I can feel everything. If I stayed in a split for a long time, about a minute or so, I like to make sure that I get out of it slowly so my legs don't spaz out. I'm going to be doing the same stretching methods on my left side. This is going to be a quick process only because I don't want the video to be too long. I forgot to mention that when I do my splits and my lunges, I like to try and keep my feet as turned out as possible. Alrighty, now it's time to stretch my feet. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is flex and point. I try and do this very slowly so I can get all the muscles in my foot. I am flat-footed, so I don't really have a good arch in my foot, which is why foot stretches are so important to me. Now I'm working up to the goal of having my feet being able to touch the floor when I point them. When I don't stretch my feet do not bend like at all, and this sucks because when I do kicks or leaps or any type of dance movement, my lines are not pretty. I personally call this stretch the butterfly stretch, and this helps loosen my hips up for when I'm getting ready to go into a mid split, and it also stretches my glutes and my lower back. My hips are now nice and stretched out, and now it's time to get into that middle split. In order to make sure that I'm staying squared on my middle split, I like to make sure that my hip is kept down. Also, when I'm stretching my sides, I think of my hand going past my toes. I am going to go ahead and try to put my stomach on the floor. This is going to challenge me to keep my turnout and to make sure that my feet and knees are facing the ceiling. Man, this is not as easy as it looks. You know you're doing it correctly when you start to feel that burn. This is a straddle, and a straddle is when you put your pelvis onto the floor and lay it flat. This really stretches your hips and your inner thighs. Gotta shake my legs because now it's time to stretch my back and my legs at the same time. For this exercise, I'm going to be back into my straddle and I'm going to close my legs into the froggy position. Now my goal during this exercise is to make sure that my heels do not face the ceiling. I want to go ahead and try to have my feet as flat to the floor as possible. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start arching my back. The hardest thing about this is that my legs will get tired, and I have to make sure that I try and push through and keep my legs straight as much as I can. Since my legs had a good workout from that exercise, I'm going to shake them a little bit so I can wake them up again. And I'm also going to go ahead and roll out my back. Okay, my back is already stretched out and now it's time to stretch my wrists. I'm going to be stretching my wrists because I'm going to be doing back bends. And with these back bends, I want to make sure that my wrists are all warmed up so they do not strain. I'm going to show you 2 ways you can get into a back bend. Now, the first way you can do it is when you push up off from the floor on all 4s. Another way you can do your back bend is standing up straight. You want to make sure that your feet are shoulder width apart and slowly go down while kinking your back. Think of putting your head to your butt. As I'm in my back bend, or you can say bridge, I'm going to be making sure that my feet are still warm. To stretch my back even farther, I'm going to be going into an elbow stand and rocking back and forth. To get a deeper stretch in my lower back, I'm going to extend my legs above me. And this is the end of my nightly stretch routine. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye!